Hello, everyone. Welcome here. And if you are in the room, you're more than welcome to introduce yourself in the chat. I'm going to lay out the plan for the session just in about a minute. Just to introduce myself, my name is Taranum Khan, and I'm a career consultant. I help people optimize their personal brand. I also help with settlement and realigning your career and personal brand strategy. The session today that I'm presenting is social media tips to create your brand for career success. And let me lay out the housekeeping rules. Please feel free to ask any questions that you have in the chat box. We do understand that we are a diverse group here, and everybody has their right to have their own opinions. But at the same time, it's important to be respectful of each other's opinions. So let's agree to disagree if that was to happen. Finally, I want to start the session with acknowledging and honoring Canada's First Nations. I wish to acknowledge that and honor the land we are on. For thousands of years, Indigenous people have walked this land. It has been the traditional home of many Indigenous nations, including Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and the traditional territories of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. Today, this meeting place is still home to many Indigenous peoples from across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to live, work, and play on this land. As you walk and work and play this land, you need to remember that you are carrying your identity in so many ways. And when I talk about personal branding, it's about identity, actually. What is it that people see when you are in a room? Or what is it that people see when you are in their space? And the space can be the digital space or the personal space. Now, remember, we might perceive ourselves a certain way, but that is not necessarily the way people look at us. And when you talk about the personal brand, it's all about perception. How do people know you? What do they know about you? And what is it that you want people to know about you? It's a mix of all of these things together. With technology coming into play, it is very easy, but at the same time, it is very challenging. Knowing what you want people to know about you can make a huge difference, which the term that career strategists and we use is called value proposition. What is your value that you're bringing forward? And with the use of social media, it is becoming easier to put that value proposition forward in a concrete fashion. What is it that you align with has to be identified clearly for people to see the niche that you will bring to them. Now, what is it that will make it work? Consistency is the first thing. If you recognize the key skill set that you are offering in terms of the choices, the career choices that you want to make, that needs to be listed out there. That needs to be spoken to and repeated regularly. How can you do that? It is very easy for me to list a few things, and I'm sure most of you would know it. But sometimes knowing is not doing. So what do you know? You know that you have to have a professional image. So what does that include? A professional image includes your professional profile picture across social media platforms. Not only should it be professional, it should be similar to each other. You do not want to look different are very different from one to the other, because when people are looking at you, at your social media, they should not get confused. Second, articulating your key strengths strategically. So making sure that your tagline, your keywords that you're using, and considering that it's a tech virtual conference that we are in, you know the importance of Google SEOs. So using those keywords repeatedly but efficiently to storytell can create a brand presence that will work for you and in your favor when you're talking about career strategy. Sometimes these things we know of, but we take them very lightly. That would be the first step. So be sure of who you are as a person and how consistent you are in the images, the colors, the conversations that you're having across social media platforms. The second thing that you want to work on is identifying your why and how that why relates to the organizations that you have identified for your career moves. So for an example, if I wanted to work for a bank, I also want to make sure to see what products and services do they have. How can I, as a professional in the tech space, be an asset to them? What are the products that they are in need of and I have? So aligning those keywords, taking them and starting speaking to them on social media. I will give you a few examples. For an example, if Bitcoin was something that you are interested in and the organization that you want to work for has that tool, or maybe does not have that tool and is exploring how to incorporate into their future careers. Now it is up to you to start talking about either giving tips, sharing articles, sharing videos. And you don't have to create the content all the time by yourself. You don't need to reinvent the wheel, but you need to intelligently pick the resource or the knowledge that is available out there and reshare it in a way where you are looked upon as somebody who is sharing this knowledge, has understanding of it, or rather has expertise of it, to the point you want to build it to the level of having influence in that space. So it can be done very simply, but again, using consistency. So if, let's say, Friday tips, Monday conversations, these can be small tidbits that you're sharing constantly about a certain product or service that aligns with your career strategy and the organizations that you are targeting. Doing that, you are building your brand presence as somebody who is looked upon as an authority figure and is the go-to person for information on those key areas. That can really become an asset for you when you're looking for work. The third and the most important thing is, I cannot emphasize enough on being authentic. Don't do things that don't come to you naturally. So for an example, if for a few days you decided, oh, I'm going to create video content and start talking about the product and services that a certain employer needs, and you start building that up, if it's not something that you are naturally inclined towards, you're going to get exhausted. And sometimes instead of benefiting you, it can, on the contrary, be more damaging. So be careful in the choices that you make. If you're going to do it in 15 days, if you think your job search and the work that you do and whatever else you're doing in your life, you can only create half an hour to an hour to do these things, then have that consistency. If you like writing better than doing videos, then try to do writing instead of videos, because keeping up with these can be draining, and it is very easy to fall through the cracks and not be able to keep up. It burns you out, and you never want that to happen. So, being authentic and staying true to your brand and creating a perception for people to be able to see you as somebody who they can connect well with. Now, another thing, once you have taken these pieces where you have created your social media presence and a brand which aligns with the organizations that you want to work for, the next step is to find people that work within those organizations and see if you can have authentic conversations with them using social media tools. So, for an example, you might give a shout out to an organization on a new product or service they launched over Twitter. If that's your social media of choice, you can reshare the latest annual report that came out on what technology, new technology areas that a certain organization is working on LinkedIn, and say why you admire their style or how they care about the community. You can go and take images from a certain organization that you aspire to work with of their products and services and use Instagram and then tag them. That way you are, and same thing for Facebook pages. Facebook pages are also great when it comes to looking for opportunities or what the organization is up to. For an example, if they did a recent fundraising and that was shared on Facebook, you could talk about how you connect with that. So taking what is already out there and the organization is sharing and repurposing it to benefit and support your brand is a strategy that you can develop to take from them and utilize it in a way which benefits both parties. As you build upon each and every level, it's like steps. So starting with yourself, and I'm going to reiterate that, start with yourself, start with who are you, what skill sets you bring, what value proposition you bring forward to the table, how do your skills align to the organizations that you want to work for, how your professional presence and perception is created in a way where you align completely with the vision, mission, and products and services that those organizations are offering, and then taking it forward and using the content that the organizations of choice are putting out there on social media, repurposing it so that you don't waste time and you don't reinvent the wheel, in a way where your career moves forward. So that's called SMART goals, using their content to push forward your agenda and your initiative and your drive. It's very, very important that you choose carefully. You choose carefully the career choices, the alignment, the value propositions, so that it is an exercise that was benefiting and not futile. Also, established a brand presence, don't let it drop even after you're already working. I can tell you a story. When I started out and I chose LinkedIn as my go-to social media platform, I was known for career strategy. And that said, I was getting clients without having to talk about it, to having to sell my services. Why? Because people saw the value I was putting out there. And guess what? A few years down the line, it is now I'm looked upon as the go-to person when it comes to speaking engagements. So it takes time to build your presence, but doing things consistently will make sure that you stay up there and it does not get dropped while you are in the process of, while you are working towards. And remember, it's a the one thing about Canadian job market is it is precarious, and especially with given the situation we are in today with coronavirus and all of those pieces, you have to be constantly on your toes. You have an opportunity one day, and you never know for how long it's going to last. It might not have to do anything with you. It might always have to do what the organization has to offer, what transition they are experiencing. So always remember, continuity, consistency, and authenticity will make sure that all the things, all the activities you are doing are like investments into your own presence, in a build up into your own profile. And when people come and look at it, they're not fishing. They're not fishing to look for information in terms of what can you do for them. Earlier on, you were going physically with resumes and cover letters, and slowly it changed to sending electronic. Now you can actually create your career story on any of the digital media platforms of choice. And doing it smartly means you are cross posting. That is my last step for today. Cross posting. Cross posting is huge. It can benefit you in so many ways. So using mediums like Buffer, Hootsuite ensures that you don't go from one platform to the other when you are sharing your content. You can have curated content and curated comments for each one of those platforms. But that said, you don't want to spend too much time. Also, you can schedule your posts. That is the beauty of cross posting. And finally, after you have done all of these things, the last and the most important piece is reciprocity. So remember, if somebody is coming and commenting on your posts, if somebody is giving feedback, constructive, positive, encouraging, inspiring, even if it's something that you do not appreciate, be sure to acknowledge it. Be sure to be thankful for it, because somebody is taking their time to come back to you and tell you what works and, more importantly, what does not work. So take that in, absorb that information, be sure to respond to them, be sure to appreciate their time, and be sure to have that communication going. If you do not communicate, if you do not respond, people will stop engaging with you. And social media, the key word is engagement. So remember to engage with your audience, be alert to your audience, be alert to the changing trends of the audience as well as for yourself, and create a social media brand presence that works for you. Being on social media means nothing unless you make those platforms work in favor for you to identify the opportunities that are out there. Remember, I said you. Why do I say you? Because you are the owner. You have to take ownership for what will happen with the profiles that you have put out there and how they will work in favor to build your brand and build your careers to the level that you want to reach. With that, I wish you the very best in all you are doing. Feel free to connect with me. Feel free to reach out. Feel free to put your questions in the chat box. I will stick around in the networking room as well for a bit. If you have questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. All the best to you and have a very good afternoon.